The Zumwalt class destroyer is a hotly discussed topic, and you can find many videos here on YouTube of armchair expert explaining why it failed. This is not meant to be one of those videos. I will repeat some of the Zumwalt's long and troubled development history, but instead of repeating how the Zumwalt failed to meet its goals, I will set out to design a new ship that accomplished them. So the Zumwalt program started as the SC-21 program, with the goal of designing a land attack ship for the 21st century. The US Navy had repeatedly reactivated its World War II-era Iowa-class battleships for their 16-inch guns. The SC-21 program was to find a modern and cost-effective solution for land attack. But in 2001, the SC-21 program was combined with the CG-21 program. The CG program's goal was to create a replacement for the US Ticonderoga-class cruisers. This decision meant that the US Navy now looked to design an all-in-one ship that could do land attack, long-range air and surface combat, and function as a flagship. This program was also cancelled, along with the DG-21 program, but parts of all of these programs ended up in the GGG-1000 program that gave us the Zumwalt. But I want to stop with the SC-21 program, which wanted a land attack ship with 2 guns and some VLS cells. Today the US Navy wants a bigger navy with more dispersed systems. This can be seen in the Navy's decision to build new frigates and more Alec-class destroyers. But none of these ships is focused on cost-effective land attack. This is especially important if a war in the Pacific breaks out and amphibious operations once again is needed. So how can we build a cost-effective land attack ship for the 21st century? So let's first define what we need. We don't need a battleship. A battleship is designed to fight other capital ships at sea. We need a land attack ship, and the best ship for that type of role is a monitor. A monitor is a relatively light and small ship, but with large guns. These were popular during the First World War and saw some use in World War II. Their main task was to monitor the coast and destroy anything they didn't like. The range of their main armament often protected them from retaliation. As aircraft became better and more numerous, the monitors became easy targets, and the more armored and heavily defended battleships took over their roles for shore bombardment. But I think the monitor's time has come for a comeback. So what are we arming our 21st century monitors with? Well, the Zumwalt was armed with 2 AGS 155mm cannons. These has their own long and troubled development history, but to make a long story short, the requirement for the range continued to move up, leading to a 155mm gun that needed bespoke ammunition. This negated any cost saving ordinarily gained by using an existing caliber. So instead we're gonna use a bigger caliber gun. That way we can incorporate many of the AGS's ammunition technologies into a long-range shells, while the gun will still be able to fire standard shells. The 3 calibers I've been looking at is 175mm, 203mm and 240mm. All these calibers have been used by the US military after World War II. This means there are probably still surviving plans for their construction, maintenance and handling. These 3 calibers are also in use today. The 175mm is used by the M107, which is still in use by Greece and Cyprus. The 203mm are used by the M110 and the M115, that is still used by Greece, Cyprus, Taiwan, Bahrain and Turkey. And finally, the 240mm is still used by Taiwan with their M1 emplacements. The M107 has the longest range, but also the longest barrel. Barrel weight is important on land, as engineers must consider the road and bridge weight limits. On the sea, however, this is not so important. And I see no reason why the bigger caliber guns can't be extended to increase their range. The bigger shells have more internal space to fit all the technologies of extended range shells, such as rockets, fins, and electronics. With the 240mm shells, I think it's possible to add more sensors and AI ship recognition to make a precision, self-correcting anti-ship shell. These shells would be expensive to produce, but a broad spectrum of shells could be available, such as cheap dumb shells. This will give commanders more options and doesn't force them to use the most expensive shells against close static targets, such as coastal trenches. The price of the more advanced shells would also drop if Taiwan or other US allies would buy them. The downside of going bigger is that weapon systems takes up more space on the ship. Not a problem for us, as we are designing a ship for the guns. However, smaller calibers would have a greater export potential, as they would be easier to install on existing ships. Now, since we are aiming for a 21st century monitor that can fill the short bombardment role left by the Iowas, I'll go with two 240mm guns, lengthen their barrels to around 11 meters and place them on the Zumwalt's hull. To fit the bigger guns on the existing deck, I will flip the stored position of the aft gun, and we will remove 8 VLS cells from the front deck. But there's more to change if we want to transform the Zumwalt's hull into a 21st century monitor. The Zumwalt superstructure is very tall. This seems partly because of the space requirement for the SPY-6 radar that was meant to be installed on the ships. The SPY-6 radar is a next-generation long-range radar, perfect for engaging air targets at extremely long range. But that is not the purpose of a monitor, so we will remove the long-range radar, instead relying on smaller medium-range radars and medium-range anti-air missiles for self-defense. With the SPY-6 out of the picture, we can now lower the superstructure, but I will leave a stealth antenna mast primarily for intelligence interception systems. As a ship's primary purpose is to be close to shore, it will be in a prime position to jam and intercept enemy signals. To aid in this task, I will also arm the ship with more aerial drones. I will extend the hangar 10 meters aft to make space both for the anti-submarine helicopter and several strike and surveillance drones. To make space for the bigger hangar, I will remove all VLS cells from the aft deck. This will also allow us to expand and widen the helicopter deck from the around 15 meters to the total of around 20 meters. This wider deck would allow multiple drones and helicopters to be launched simultaneously. The last change I would make is to the secondary armament. Currently the Zumwalt has two 30mm autocannons that can only hit surface targets. This is clearly not enough when we remove so many long-range anti-air missiles. Modern ships need close-in weapon systems to deal with both flying and sailing drones. Therefore I will arm the ship with two stealth 57mm Mark III cannons, but I will also add a laser weapon, housed in a retractable stealth housing for an even cheaper way to engage enemy drones and small air targets. Now this ship was designed to solve one problem, shore bombardment, but it could do so much more. In low intensity combat zones, this ship will be able to hug the coast unnoticed by its stealth, gather intelligence with its sensors and through its drones. It can also deploy and retrieve special forces with its boats and provide fire support to friendly forces on land. It will have enough firepower to protect itself against asymmetrical air and surface targets, and it will also be able to perform counter-piracy operations and shore force missions. There's nothing like sailing your diplomats to a meeting on the ship armed with the biggest naval guns in operation. For peer or near-peer warfare, the ship will join amphibious assault groups, taking the lead on shore bombardment, softening up the beaches by letting the Allied Berg and F-35Bs to clear the sky. While the monitor provides fire support for the Marines, the air wing can focus on hitting targets further behind enemy lines. With the US changing focus on the Pacific and Taiwan, amphibious operations are once again being talked about, and the US Navy will once again need ships that can do cost-effective shore bombardment. I envision something like 10 monitors being built, using the hull and what was learned from the Zumwalts to lower price. Now what do you think about my idea of bringing the monitors back? Leave your take in the comments below.